All right. Real quick, guys, just so you know where we're at, I just did a new video too. For those of you guys that have both our surplus and our deed flip deals, one of the things I'm getting questions on, or programs, I should say, good to see you too, Connie. And thank you, Gerald. One of the things that I've gotten questions lately on is what's more productive these days. And I put a video together on YouTube about this, but I want to go over it again anyway. Right now, we're at this transition point in the market. And I know, by the way, a lot of people are telling you guys, oh my God, we're in a bubble, okay? And because of that bubble, we're about to see the market blow wide open. Rates have gone up, costs have gone up, inflation's up, people can't qualify. I get all those arguments. We still have more demand than we have supply, okay? So I don't see the impact being a bubble breaking. I do see the appreciation going from year over year 20% back down to a manageable, normal 5% or even 7%. I do see that happening. I've done videos before on this, and one of the main things to consider, and I'm going to tell you guys the impact of this on surplus funds on deed flips, okay? So bear with me a little bit. But listen carefully. So we're in a transitional period. That means that sellers still haven't gotten the memo that they can't put it on for any price that they want. They need to price it about where it's going to sell for, or a little bit less, so that people can still, because the buyers are still trying to outbid each other because there's more demand than supply. So it needs to actually be under projected sales price. So those of you real estate agents out there, sorry for what I'm about to say, but I was a real estate agent from 93 to 2007. I still have a real estate company. It's your fault, okay? We should have made this the adjustment in pricing quite a while ago. So we're in a transitional period. It's going to take a little while for sellers and buyers to kind of meet in the middle on where we should be, okay? In the meantime, that means owners of property going up to tax sale or mortgage foreclosure that we contact to flip property still think the property is up here where they should get this, right? Stay within the thing. Should get this, when in reality it's down here. And then of course I have to build in margin, okay? So having said all of that, surplus funds, I think over the next 6 months are going to be stronger than the deed flip. Now January comes around, that's going to change. We're also seeing stuff, reappraise now, tax values reappraise on property. And as a result, you're going to see a change in that as well, in that you're going to see another little ripple effect in foreclosures over the next year, both in mortgage and tax, because they're going to have to appraise it higher. Now, it's not going to be anywhere near actual value because counties have figured that out. You can't double the value of a property, double the taxes on somebody and expect them to pay it, right? But it's going to have mortgage foreclosures are going to kick in high gear because mortgages tend to make you escrow the tax payments in as part of your payments. So if the tax payment goes up, total mortgage price goes up, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, PITI. In addition, tax overages are going to pick up really dramatically over the next 6 months. Tax overages are surplus funds created because that is going to jack up dramatically in the next 6 to 15 months, or even 18 months, next half year to year and a half. You're going to see a lot of that stuff really piling in. And then we're going to see a slight adjustment in January, and that's where the deed flips are going to pick back up. So at the present time, we're still going to work them, guys. We're not going to drop working anything that you have. But at the present time, if you have a choice between one or the other, I would say go ahead and work surplus funds. That's going to be our hottest play for the next foreseeable future, probably 6 months really, because January, February, you see some weird stuff going on December, January, even February, especially in tax sales where the counties don't really hold that many county tax sales. All right. And one thing I want to put up front, because we get this a lot, remember that with your systems, you have built-in support. Support gets back with you crazy fast. They have 3 business days. It's an email-based support ticket system. They have 3 business days, but Jeff tends to get back in a day. A business day, I should say. He tends to, unless it's really getting crazy, but that hasn't happened for a while. We've been really good with the questions. And Having said that, if you ask a support question, I may redirect you to actually go to support. And we actually had people before that would come to the webinars going, well, I was waiting for the webinar to ask this question. Hey, support's built into the system, just ask the question using the online ticket system and Jeff will get back to you right away. All right, so Christopher, on Thursday, paying $111 a square foot, builder needs to liquidate to finish his other projects, $350K for a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, 3,150 square feet, just located just south of Branson, Missouri. Awesome, Christopher. That's awesome. Jan, question, doing Florida surplus. Okay, I'll go ahead and touch base on this. And guys, it's wide open. You can start asking questions left and right. Would the HOA be listed on the court-ordered title report under lien holders and other interested parties of record? This is a great question. If they didn't have a lien. And if they do have a lien, how do I find out the amount if not listed on the clerk website? Call the county clerk or the HOA. Jan. Florida is one of the few states, I believe, and please step in, Jeff, if I'm wrong, but I think you can actually see liens and judgments in Florida. However, if you're trying to do this on your own, I would contact the HOA. Let me caution you about something in Florida. Florida is what's called a super lien state. Listen up, guys. Some states are super lien states. What that means is the HOA's power and authority, rises to the front of the list as far as priority of creditors. The only person it doesn't rise above is tax. IRS tax, property tax, state income tax. Everyone else, even mortgages, are below the HOA in that state. And here's the scary thing in Florida, so I would double check that. If you're working with us, let us do that, Jan. Don't worry about it. That's something our attorney handles. But if you were doing it on your own, you really need to contact that HOA and double check, because even if they don't have a judgment in place prior to the foreclosure, it is a super lien state, and many of the courts in Florida will actually allow them to make a claim on the surplus without even having a judgment in place. I don't like it either, but that is the reality. Those of you guys that are working Florida on your own, you need to know that. Excuse me. Connie, call me stupid, but I promise the workable list we check to make sure no one is working on keeps moving. I can't find it. Okay. I'm glad you asked that, Connie. It does move. Jeff moves that so that nobody randomly over time, it doesn't get listed with Google. You have to use the link on the resources page to go to that, to enter your password and go to it, because it is going to move. We did that on purpose so that Google wouldn't rank it. So you've got to use the link off the resources page to access the active files list or the working files list. Great question. Rita, when will the deed flip program include Florida? Rita, Florida is a separate system for us because the statutes are so different and because the title works so different because of the way the courts work. So Florida, it will never include Florida. Florida is a separate program, both the surplus and the deed flip. It's available in the best bundle, gold bundle, or diamond. So I would, that's the only way you're going to get to work deed flips in Florida with our systems. Leonora. Oh, Connie, Jeff is correcting me. It hasn't moved. Jeff has moved it before, but he hasn't moved in over a year. So I don't know what's going on with you. Rita, when will the deed flip? Let's see. Leonora, I haven't purchased the class for surplus funds. So I have the question. Do you assign us a county or can I choose any county? Yeah, Leonora, there is no non-compete clause. And we tell you how to get lists anywhere. We do not assign counties. That'd be crazy because let's be honest. Half the people that got assigned that county wouldn't work it and it would sit and nobody could work it, or versus somebody might be working the heck out of it. We can't tell how to do that. So what we do is we tell you how to get a list from just about anywhere. Okay. And we have a list. You have access to our active files list. So the first thing you do whenever you get a list is take the names off that, check our list to make sure we don't already have it, and then move on and start working it and turning them in. I would not get, wouldn't get hung up on working a specific area, but absolutely not. We do not give you guys, that's crazy. We just let you work it. Tyson, Florida surplus. Why does it show banks or mortgage companies as defendants on the final judgment along with the title holder? Great question. i.e. original mortgage holder assigned to another, and original mortgage holder is now listed as a defendant. If you could explain. Sure. So if there are other defendants on there, Tyson, that means they have a prospective interest in the property. You need to do your research because they probably have an open lien or mortgage against that property. As far as assigning, all assigning does, it'll assign it to another company. Oftentimes that is a company that is going to just process the payment, the mortgage payment. Those of you guys that have had mortgages in the past, sometimes you get that, hey, by the way, you got to pay this company now, because they sell it. Banks sell the paper to another bank, and they move it on. If they've listed other people as defendants in there, it's very possible there's additional debt against the property. You better do your title research on that. And as far as assigned mortgages, if it's assigned to another bank, yes, that other bank technically has it right now, but the original mortgage can come in, can be a defendant, as well as the secondary mortgage company that it was assigned to. So they have to notify anybody with a possible interest in the property. Tyson, it sounds like there may very well be additional debt. You better check that. Troy. Also, I'm confused on when to submit a file for the 50/50. Are you suggesting to submit the file through the online form the first time after research, but before attempting to connect with the claimant executor, then resubmit? What research work, i.e. fund verification, tax history, blah, 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 typically do you require recommended to be completed per claimant file before submitting a 25 skip tracing list to SFR? Is there a new company acceptance and requirements form for that program? All right, so Troy, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be difficult, but that's explained in the ebook. The submission system tells you when to submit. Obviously, you're going to want to, you've got one shot at the skip tracing list of people that you want me to give you. It's up to 25. You turn in 5, you're done. So I would research the debt right away and then do the, ask for the 25. Guys, it's the 50/50 program. We don't offer this by itself anymore, so please don't ask that one. As far as the rest of it, that we haven't had an issue with people. Yes, there's a double submission to that because we want you to submit it first. We then can put it on our list so other people with the national surplus won't work it, right? Then who do we pay? Because meanwhile, you're gonna be trying to call the people and all that, and we don't want you to finally get a hold of somebody and we go, oopsie, we already called them. So yeah, it's a double submission for that, Troy. It's just that you're doing the actual calls. The rest of it, I think, is pretty straightforward and explained. And I would use support if you have further questions on that, because I will answer that incorrectly. Jeff handles that part of it. So I get up with him on that. All right, so Connie, LOL. Curtis, how is business with the time flipping program? Going great, Curtis. We're having a lot of people saying they've had success with that. A lot of people don't do it without us. And I'll tell you what's interesting about that program. And that's another one that, well, it is available as an add-on. The time flipping is actually a way for people to get around the issue that deed flips are becoming more competitive right now, and sellers aren't into reality owners. So that trades time instead of money. So it's not a money issue. It's people that are occupying the property, and you're giving more of a time thing. Hey, I'll let you stay there for 6 months. The other thing that's been amazing with the time flip, and I threw it in randomly, but with that program, I told people how to get an investor to help them fix it up, start renting it. And then all the money the investor put in, you say, listen, here's the deal, Mr. Investor. We're going to take rent until you're completely paid back. Plus a percentage. Let's say 10, 15%, 20%, whatever you agree to. Plus that. Then after that, we're going to split rents. And they're having crazy success with that. So they're building portfolios, something I did expect because I kind of threw that into that book on a whim. So I like that. We're actually building wealth now. That's cool. Wealth as far as property. Tyson, yes, you're asking another Florida. I'm not going to get into in depth on what are essentially individual program support questions. So I'm going to try to use support for that question. John, easiest way, guys, I'm going to really do me a favor. Everybody's in a hurry, right? And they're typing out stuff and they're using abbreviations and take your time and do full sentences on me and don't abbreviate. Easiest way to find the owners pre-deed, don't understand that, and debt search in Ohio instead of calling the Claimant list. I got no idea what you're talking about, brother. Tyson, we already talked about that. Joseph, I'm still a newbie. Let me go into that, Joseph. Okay, so there's only one area, we don't have saturation with the system, but there's only one area where you're going to bump into other people. I'm going to just talk plainly. For those of you guys working in Florida, it's a single state. So particularly if you're going to use, Jeff used step-by-step, it's a coloring book, the Florida system. And he used a couple of, I think 3 different counties, something like that, as examples. And what people tend to do is they'll work that county. Oh, look, it's an example. I'll work this. There's 67 counties in Florida. Work a different one. The majority of counties in Florida do give you a list online. Work one that doesn't, where you've got to contact them. We don't have crazy competition, but you are going to miss out if you're working a county, somebody else is working. Good Lord, move on. My bad. See, this is where, guys, 50-50, there is no double submission. You submit the online file once you research the file and contact the ex-owner. This is explained on the form as well as step-by-step file example. Yeah, so Jeff saying, you got to move quick on the 50-50, and it's not a double submission system. You just crank it out. Tara, how do you find counties that have open surplus funds? Most counties with the most updated list have active motions. It's not true. How do I get around the competition? Tara, I've never heard that before. Okay, so either you're on an old list, or you need to move on to another county, or you need to see if you can get a more updated list. I've honest to goodness, I've never heard of that before. You know what, I have one state. I bet you're working Arizona. That is crazy competition out there. It's really easy to get the list for Maricopa County, Pinal, Puma, whatever it is. And I wouldn't bother working Arizona. Wilma, in general, what is the average time for submission for surplus 16 check submission? So Wilma, from when you turn it in, when you've contacted the people, because 16 requires you find them and contact them, have a warm conversation to make sure they're willing to speak with us. And you got the right person, about 2 months from that point. So once you turn it in at that point, it should be 2 months if we get it under contract, because you're just asking if they'd be interested in speaking with us and if the right person. Sometimes they won't, or sometimes people turn in stuff where it's actually a relative that's pretended like somebody else, but we let you know when that happens. Let me make sure this thing, because Jeff's saying something to Tyson here. Okay. Joseph, I haven't had any other feedback on my files, so does that mean they were turned in correctly? Joseph, when somebody submits a file to us, this is great because we probably have a lot of new people on here too. 3 possible options happen. Either one, shows up on the list. Did it show up on the list? Probably yours, unless, number 2, unless somebody did beat you to that turn in which case you would have been notified somebody beat you to the turn in, and you would have known that, oops, okay, so even if it shows up on the list, it's under somebody else's name. That usually happens only in Florida. Yes, there's a little more competition there, but there's crazy opportunity there too. The third option can be you'll get an email from support, Jeff, who underwrites the files and handles support, and that email will say, hey, you have to fix the following items. So if it's showing up on the list and you didn't receive any other communication, you got it. It's on the active files list. That means we're working it actively, guys. We had one person say, oh my gosh, all my files showed up on the active files list, so they're all under contract. When am I getting paid? No, that just means that you turned it in correctly. We still have to get in touch with them. Okay, we got to get in touch with them, put the deal together, hire the mobile notary and the attorney. It's Michael. Question. You have occasionally referred to caps. What are these? When do we need to be concerned about them, and what states have them? Michael, I think you're talking about, so caps are finder caps, okay? There are limits as to what people can charge if they're working as a finder. We don't work as finders, Michael. We use attorneys, and we use a structured buyout where we give the owner 10% of the gross amount being held by the courts. We do this on your behalf if you're a researcher with us. 10% of the gross amount held by a court to the owner within 10 business days, 2 weeks after they sign our contract, and then the rest of whatever we agree to later. But by doing the buyout and by having an attorney, finder caps don't apply to us. We're participating in the retrieval. Tyson. Assuming more than one party do surplus, is it necessary to list deceased people on the conclusion page as they won't be getting any surplus? Yeah, Tyson, I'll tell you why. I put a little note, deceased. I'm going to make this judgment call, Jeff. The reason is simple. It's the people on the deed usually. Okay. So if there's one exception, but anyway, the people on the deed are the ones entitled. The last deed holders prior to the sale. 90% of the time, there's one state where it's slightly different. I get it. That's covered in the program, that particular program. But if they're on there, we need to know there's 3 people entitled, right? We need to know the last owners, and then you can write a note, deceased. But keep in mind, we've got to be able to get a certain amount of money for these people. Okay, there's a minimum amount that we can work. So if that's going to drop us below our minimum threshold, I think it's 20,000, 17.5 in Florida. If that's going to drop us below that, because we have to take that portion of that out, we're not going to be able to retrieve that because we're dead. They're dead. Then we need to, we need to know about it, and you need to know about it. John, why should I search for the claimant's deed before the sheriff's sale deed and debt research before calling the claimant first on the phone? I'm glad you asked that, John. And there's a lot of people on there. Maybe you're one of them. There's a lot of people online. I get a lot of competitors coming to these that say, hey, don't get caught up on researching the debt. Just find them first and make the deal, and then hope that there's no other debt and put it together. Well, first of all, it wouldn't work with our system because we're given an upfront buyout in 2 weeks, even though we are going to double check that debt. We're giving them an upfront buyout, right? But secondly, we don't want to hear about it later. This is what a lot of people don't understand. First of all, I don't want to chase a deal that I can't get. That is really stupid to me. It'd be idiotic for me to try to contact somebody that I can't put a deal with because they're not due the money. Look, if there was 50 grand in overage, Bank of America foreclosed, or a tax entity, I don't care who, there was a HELOC loan. There's a 50 grand overage HELOC loan for $60,000. Okay. That HELOC loan is in front of the owner to collect that full 50. They're not going to give it to the owner because the HELOC loan people, HELOC meaning secondary loan, anyway, they're not going to give it to the owner because the HELOC people don't show up. They're due the money, period. So I don't want to call somebody that isn't due the money. And frankly, on the back end, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it later when I go, oopsie, sorry, I didn't know there was another debt. You didn't check that before you called me. I got to tell you, a lot of times we work deals where there's a $50,000 overage. We find out there's $20,000 in debt. That leaves 30. We call the people, and because we can go, they'll say, yeah, somebody else told me that's 50,000. Well, no. There was a second mortgage, or there was a lien, whatever it is that we found. Okay. There was something else against that that's entitled to 20 of that. So it's 30. We're the only people that know that. We're the ones they're going to work with because we know what we're doing. And John, I'm not trying to be tough on you. I've heard this again and again. And, one of the reasons why we tell our folks that too, you think that's going to go well if you tell them they've got money coming, put a deal together, go try to make the claim, get denied on the claim, and now they're not getting a penny. You don't think they're going to go on to Yelp and BBB and wherever else your company has a listing, or any way that they can defame you after that? They're going to crush you on the back end. Christopher Christensen, pre-2019 Florida, good times. Yeah. Kenneth, hello, Kenneth. With the Premier 16 program, when you finally have the warm conversation with a claimant, what do you say if they ask what percentage does your company take? So your job, Kenneth, is to let them know, if you read the script in there, let them know that we're going to give them 10% up front, and we'll and more at the back end. Let it be up to us for that. It depends on the dollar amount. We have a sliding scale. It's a very fair payment, and we're taking care of the attorney. But in reality, the hook here, Kenneth, don't get caught up in that. Okay, that's the hook here is we're going to give them 10% of the gross up front and the rest of whatever we agree to on the back end. So just go ahead and use the script as it's written, and trust me, you want to get them in front of us. My guys close. My guys, if it comes in, they're going to close it. Brett, where's the best place to get tax overage proof? Tax deed from county website? Where's the best place to get tax overage proof? Tax deed from county. That makes sense to me, Brett. Are you asking the best place to get a list? I would literally have you purchased our book? Because it tells you how to do that. I wouldn't get caught up in working in a particular county in a particular state, but literally you can Google and find most of the lists online. We also have scripts that you can contact other counties that haven't put it online, especially if you see a list in one county in a state and you don't see it in another one. You can use that script and system to either email or call and get even the list that nobody else is getting, which is awesome. Do you have your own skip tracing system, and how much does it cost a month? Leonora, we recommend, guys, I'm getting a couple questions here that sound like you haven't read the ebook or haven't purchased. So in the ebook, we recommend 3 different skip tracing systems. We don't provide a skip tracing system for you. If you're using the national surplus, you don't have to skip trace the people. We do that. Find them, call them, mail them, and give you 8% of the gross when we successfully get the money out of the court. On the Premier 16, we do require you're making 16% of gross instead of 8, more money, more work. We are going to require you at that point to find the people, which is going to involve skip tracing, mailing, and calls. Of course, if you do it on your own, you're going to have that cost. I recommend IDI Data. I think they're phenomenal at finding people, the claimants. I also recommend, as a strong backup, Microbilt, Microbilt. If you call them, microbilt.com. If you look them up online, call that number, ask for Randy Mostetler, and he will, say my name, Sean Bougie or Greater Good Company, and Randy will waive the $200 startup fee and get you started up. The third system that we recommend is White Pages Premium. Guys, please don't use the question and answer button. Use the chat only, please. Let's go back here to chat. Okay. Believe it or not, White Pages Premium is extremely accurate, especially with the reverse lookup on the by address, and in tax sales or even mortgage foreclosures. You'd be amazed, because what it'll do is it'll match you up with the renter that's in there. And oftentimes, if it was a recent sale, the renter knows they have to leave in a couple of weeks, and they'll give you the phone number for the owner. That's been really good for us. Okay. Also, Microbilt does a really good job. Microbilt.com, Randy Mostetler. Microbilt does a really good job of actually showing you potential relatives and associates. So when we try to reach people for our members that have turned in files to us, we're not only sending out mail and calling the claimant, but also their possible relatives and associates. And IDI Data does a good job of that, but Microbilt does a phenomenal job of that. Hey, Brett, I'm going to need you to use the chat, not the Q&A system, please. Thank you. James Galise, we're trying to figure that out. I know that just came in. We're trying to figure out that it came in over the last couple of days. We'll get back to you on that one. Let's use chat, guys. Part of the reason why I want you guys to use chat, okay, besides the fact that then I don't have to monitor 2 different systems here, but that's also I can broadcast your question to the room. All right, so what Brett meant when he asked this, I'm going to broadcast this. Brett said, where's the best place? Oh, you know what? He asked it again. Where's the best place to get tax overage proof? Okay, so obviously, Brett, what you're running into, do this, sorry, broadcast. Obviously, Brett, what you're running into if you're doing it on your own is, for some reason, the people aren't believing you. We don't run it. The way we teach it is we use attorneys, okay? We use attorneys, and we use structured buyouts. So we're going to give them 10% of the gross amount as good faith, non-refundable unless you try to go around us, within 10 business days after they sign up. So I don't get people asking for proof. The people that are trying to do assignments or powers of attorney to themselves, those are the people that tend to run into that wackiness. Primarily because they're not, and I'm not saying this is you, Brett, but they're not telling people where the money is. We're very full disclosure. Who cares? Our hook is to give them some money up front and more later when we get it out. So we don't run into that. But it scares me, your question, because you're saying if they ever ask for proof, and by the way, if this hasn't happened, guys, if something hasn't happened, don't ask what ifs, because it's probably hasn't happened because there's a reason. Don't prospects ever ask for proof of a tax overage? And if so, what can I show them? Okay. Brett, you should have a list of tax overages that you're going off of. That's how you found out, a surplus funds list. That's how you found out that they were due the money, usually. So share that section of the list with them if you feel the need. But it sounds like you're being tentative and worrying about something, an objection that hasn't even happened. It doesn't happen to us anyway. So just don't overthink it, guys. Natalie, where to look for a deed, and if there is none, how to proceed. So Natalie, we teach you in the ebook how to do that. You use the Register of Deeds department for the county where the property was located. And we have title work videos on there teaching you how to go through that. Brett, fair enough. Okay, yeah, and Brett, again, man, I'm not trying to give you crap. I'm not. I've just never had anybody ask that, and we've been doing this since 2007 full time. So that should tell you something, right? So again, Natalie, where to look for a deed, and if there is none, how to proceed. I wouldn't proceed if you couldn't get a deed, Natalie. The Register of Deeds departments, guys, with the county list all the mortgages and deeds, both deeds of ownership, which would be special warranty deeds, general warranty deeds, quick claim deeds, anything that's transferring ownership, as well as you can have mortgages, which are also considered a form of a deed. It gives an interest in the property. It's an IOU. In other words, hey, pay your mortgage or we get to take it. We own it if you don't pay your mortgage. So that's all on the Register of Deeds. I will say that California tends to charge a lot to research deeds. Most of the counties online. It can be $10 per document, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that adds up very quickly, especially if somebody's refinanced or added a second or whatever. So that's there. The other one is Georgia will charge $25 a month, but that's to access the entire state. Guys, whenever you see a barrier, that's opportunity. People are going to go, oh my gosh, I'm not going to pay $25 a month to research debt in Georgia. I'll just go to another state. Good for you, no problem. But the guy that goes, you know what? I think I'm going to spend the $25 to be able to research all the county's Register of Deeds departments in Georgia, because other people aren't going to pay it, right? I used to joke before, put the latte down once a week and you'll be fine. That's your $25 a month. I'm not trying to be facetious, but it's true. Hold on. Again, Q&A questions, you guys need to use chat, Mohammed. All right. I want to add a flip program. Let me put this on here. Broadcast it. I want to add a flip program, deed flip 30 or time flip. Where do you think the best conversion rate is? Hey, Joseph, I don't know what you bought. But if you're asking me what is the highest converting deed system we got, deed flip 30 and national deed flip are kind of a tie, as long as if you're going to work deed flip 30, you are going to actually use skip tracing and find people, because deed flip 30 requires that you find them. National deed flip does not. Okay. National deed flip pays you 15% of that. Deed flip 30 pays you 30. However, if you ask me for highest converting, Florida and North Carolina, and unfortunately, the cheapest bundle to get that has both. And by the way, it's a steal. Is the best, I think, at $897. We normally sell Florida programs $597 a piece, the deed flip and the surplus program at $597 a piece. And then we sell North Carolina. We don't even sell North Carolina, I don't believe, by itself. So if you can afford it, I'd get that. Yes, it also has national surplus, national deed flip, Premier 16, and deed flip 30. But it also has the Floridas and the North Carolina, and the Floridas alone are worth more than the cost of that. Florida and North Carolina are our top converting deed flip programs. And then it's a tie between deed flip 30 or national deed flip. And you can pick up either one of those for $497 right on the site. After searching claimant's deed and sheriff's sale deed, and also the debt has been done, when chasing dead people who have an obituary on Google is the only way to be in touch with the executor or executrix to make it happen and give you at least 6 months notice before the overage is forfeited to the state. So John, if you're doing it on your own, you can play that however you want. Depending on the situation, the resources page attached with attached to the ebook tells you exactly what we can and cannot accept. The resources page and portions of the ebook as well. So I'm gonna lead you back to that. Jeff, this is Jeff's response to Natalie, where she said where to look for a deed and if there is none, how to proceed. Natalie, deeds are recorded instruments and located on the county official records. If you cannot locate a deed, unfortunately, we cannot accept the file. There you go. Natalie, I should have started with the 8% program. I bought the 50, so it's harder for me to submit a file. The only reason it's harder, Natalie, is you're not skip tracing to find them, or you don't have a good skip tracing system. You're welcome to come right on back. SurplusFundsRiches.net. We have kept the price down. We were supposed to go up on price from $497 to $697 on the ebooks in January. We did not. We've kept it down still, but that's we're waiting. But you can pick up the National Surplus Funds Program, the 8% program, for $497. So it's still a steal. Joseph, I bought the Pro Pack. Okay. Trying to get reference for that. Good for you. That's a great pack. It's the National Surplus and the Premier 16. Abdul, apologies. I came in late. For people who bought the 50 program but haven't used it, can we still use it? Absolutely, Abdul. There's only one program, guys, we've ever expired out. And that is when we first started, we had the traditional surplus funds program. That required you go into the courthouse, okay? That's before we started accepting complete online research and took over checking judgments for you guys through our attorneys. You're welcome. For our partners, both the Premier 16 and the surplus funds, National Surplus Funds. I say that because it's important to understand that. Hold on. But we actually got rid of that program. In 2014, we launched the National Surplus Funds Program, okay? And that allowed people to do it online. And then we waited 2 years. And darn near everybody bought the National Surplus Funds Program because it was online. They didn't have to go to the courthouse, right? So we literally got no submissions on the regular traditional one because everybody had moved to the National Surplus for 2 years. And that's the only program we've ever deaded out because we got no submissions for 2 years. We've never had that happen on anything, but it's because we updated our complete system and made it possible to do everything online. Newt, I hope I pronounced that correctly, K-N-U-T. Given the process, do you have a sample where the amount is below what you'd work with? And I, as a business, can want to pursue, how do I prevent the owner? Okay, do you have a sample? I'm going to publish this because I think you guys are thinking that I'm not. I really, guys, please take your time to type stuff. Given the process, do you have a sample where the amount is below what you'd work with? I mean, you can see that all over the place. It's $20,000 as a minimum surplus we'll go after on a national surplus, $17,500 on Florida. You can get your own list and see that, okay? And you can go pursue it yourself. How do I prevent the owner from reneging on their agreement and go around to claim on their own? So, Newt, I think you may be a little late coming in. So the way we teach this is to always use attorneys. So they sign a power of attorney to an attorney. Nobody wants to go back on that. Seriously, we cover the cost of the attorney and we use a structured buyout where we give them 10% up front and more, of course, when we successfully pull it out of the court. The way it reads is simple. Once they've cashed that check, if they want to try to go around us, and people don't, I think we've had one person try and even that didn't happen, but people don't go around us. And the reason is if they do, if they try to claim it on their own, they have to pay us back for any work incurred by the attorney. And they have to give us our upfront money back. So we don't have that issue. If you purchase 16, can you submit under 8% instead? If you have the 8% program, well, sure. If you don't, then you need to purchase the 8% program. I did notice a comment. Thank you, Jeff, for taking out. Somebody said, why the F would we do this or something? And Jeff just kicked him out. So guys, there's just no need, right? I mean, I get it. You get fired up about stuff. She was questioning whether or not we got a research debt. We don't have the time or energy for that. All right, so it's 8:14. I got 15 minutes left. Typically, we cut you guys off with 5 to 10 minutes left. A couple things I want to tell you real quick. One, the main thing is I get this a lot. People ask, do you have a payment plan? We do not. We tried that in the past. It didn't work. I can, however, if you're spending over 500, which means you got to get a bundle or 2 programs, you'll see that on the products page. I can split it over more than 1 credit card. And I have no problem doing that. Okay? I have no problem doing that at all. So if you're on the fence because you're like, you know what, I wish I could afford to get the gold bundle, which is an insane deal at $9.97, or even the Pro Pack, whatever it is you want to buy, okay? But I need 2 credit cards and your processor doesn't accept 2 credit cards. I can send you individual invoices. They have to be paid on the same day. You can't make it a layaway system, right? Sorry, it's just we can't do that. What are we going to do? We're going to give you guys part of the book. You know what I mean? So we just tell people save up and wait. And we think that's smarter, helping you as well. If you're super tight, we tell people not to buy it. Wait until you get your finances in a little bit better order. I'm not trying to make somebody buy something. I'm just not going to do that. If you're in a situation, I've had somebody before go, well, it's between your system and having good food to eat, so maybe we'll eat ramen for a week. And I'm like, man, what are you doing? Don't buy my program. Get into a little better position. Look, yes, a lot of people do this as their next big venture. A lot of people do it as side hustles. There's nothing wrong with that. We have a lot of people set to make well over 30 grand a year this year. A lot of researchers that work at part-time, and your independent contractors work at your pace. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Okay. It's a good question, Todd. I'm glad you brought it up. Do you have a timeline on the rightful owner website being back up? They sent us the initial site. Just so you know, the ancillary pages may still work. In other words, where you were first listed. So if you have that, it might still work on there. I've actually got GoDaddy rebuilding that whole thing because there was a major issue with that system. Thank you for asking this question. We've got the initial information back already. We've reviewed it. Getting back with them probably tomorrow or Monday. I'm hoping by the end of next week, you're going to see that back up. Fingers crossed. Thanking you. That's Newt. That's perfect. Connie, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on board. Connie, I appreciate you. You're really active too on the YouTube page, and I recognize your name. Wilma, thank you. I appreciate that you take the time to answer our questions live. You're very welcome. All right, guys, fire away. I think I got somebody else doing a Q&A here. Oh, what's the website? Guys, please use chat. Gerard's over at Q&A. What's the website? SurplusFundsRiches.net. SurplusFundsRiches.net. Okay. Should have been in the, oh, maybe it wasn't. That's a really good point. I guess I should put that in the emails from now on. Also, however, if you got the email and that's how you came to the webinar, then you saw those videos that were inside that email. In case anybody forgets what I just said, SurplusFundsRiches.net. If you forget what I just said, open that email again, click any of those videos. In the description will be the website, a direct links to SurplusFundsRiches.net. You know how to do that, right? YouTube gives you the video, and then there's usually a down arrow you can click. Then that opens up a description box. And I also say it at the beginning of the videos. I say Sean Bougie, SurplusFundsRiches.net. Back to chat. There you go. Jeff, just put it right there. The link is right up in front of you. Todd says, awesome. Hey, guys, I just want to tell you, I'm really excited over the next month. You know, at any given time, obviously our board, our deals board is a moving board. So it's things that we've got under contract, placed with an attorney, but not got the money back. And there's usually like a 3-month turnover on that. And there's always stuff turning over and coming back. And I had said before, we're going to be well over 1 million commissions. We still got a shot at that this year, well over 1 million at any given time. And this is rolling, keeping up with the roll. In other words, we're getting paid out on a ton, you know, every single week. And we're also putting more on every week. We're at a little over 3 million of claims being processed right now. And just this week, I think it was $500,000 in surplus that was put on by the girls. That's a lot. The average deal is 45 grand. And we don't have a saturated market. It's not like we have 1,000 people sending us deals in, or even 100. So that means a lot. I'm excited about this year. We're going to see some pretty stupid numbers. For those of you guys on the fence, remember that in December, we always go away. We take a break for our crew. We always go away. So I understand some of you guys are saving money like I told you to. If that's the case, that's great. But remember that in December, we don't sell anything. We still work our program. We still work every file that's turned in. However, we don't allow new folks to come in December. And that's coming up quicker than you think. Maine, if the county doesn't provide a one-page document for notification of addresses, is it okay to submit the copy of mailed materials instead? Maine, so this is kind of a support question. I'm going to wait because we're so close for Jeff. Here you go. This is, I believe this is for Florida, but anyway, Maine, if you cannot get notification addresses and that notification, we will just use the foreclosure address. Hey guys, this really brings up a point. Hey Jeff, do me a favor. If you can shut down further questions because we're almost out of time. I want to bring something up, a couple things up that I think are important, not only to work with us, but if you're working on your own. So one of the things that's important in skip tracing, obviously you got to spell the name right. Okay, we've had people do that a lot where they don't spell the name right. And we figured out later, you know, right before we throw it out, we check the deed or whatever. But guys, please slow down. Our biggest problem we've got with file submission is slow down. And if you're here tonight, there's one guy that just drove me nuts. I didn't say anything to him. I let Kathy kind of handle it, but he turned in a file. And then I think it was an hour or two later, oopsie, here's a change to that file. I forgot to fill out the conclusion sheet. And a couple hours later, it was, oh my goodness, I forgot also to include this on the conclusion sheet. Guys, take your time, slow down, please. Okay, slow down, slow your roll, do it right. Okay, you'll be okay. Just slow down a little bit. You're going to make mistakes if you're in too much of a hurry. We need the right name. The name that's on that deed is the name we need. So if you're going to put it on that, either type it or write it, whatever, on that title worksheet and turn it into us, we need the right name. Having said that, those of you guys that are doing it on your own, whenever we skip trace, we use the foreclosure address as a reference and the name. Also, you know, the state. There's a couple other things. Those of you guys that haven't used skip tracing, you've got to have a starting point because guess what? There are 7,850 John Smiths in Kansas alone. Okay. So we use foreclosure address to start, 99% of the time, that's all we need to do. For those of you guys doing it on your own, if you're skip tracing on your own and you run into a roadblock with that where you're not getting a hit on that address. And by the way, IDIs, there's a cool trick I'm going to give you right. Here's your nugget. If you're using IDI, okay, plug in the city and the state, the number for the street, and the person's first and last name. IDI, if it gets a partial match, it'll show you up top. It won't actually pull up the match. It'll show you up top one possible match at 14530 Barney Drive. And you go, aha, that was it. And you can click on it and it'll show up. The reason that happens is sometimes, regardless of which system you're using, it's 1207 Northwest Avenue or 1207 1207 Northwest 12th Avenue or 1207 12th Avenue Northwest. So by doing a partial, sometimes you actually come out better. Okay. The other thing, for those of you guys doing it on your own, don't get caught up. Guys, if you're working as a researcher, ignore what I'm about to say here. Okay. If you're doing it on your own and you need a secondary reference because you get no hit with that owner and that address, it means they probably owned it for a long, long time and they never lived in it. So they're not getting credit header checks on that or anything like that. Look at the deed. The deed will have additional information. Sometimes when they bought the property, it'll give a mailing address for the new owner, which would be the last owner prior to the sale. It'll give a different mailing address than the address listed, okay, as a foreclosure address. That can be a second thing for you to check. And this is just for people working on their own, guys. This is your nuggets here. Another place to check is the tax assessor's office sometimes lists not only the address, but if there's a separate mailing address for the owner, sometimes they actually put that on there. And that's another great source, a great starting point if you're using a professional skip tracing system. Great thing to check. One final thing with skip tracing and sending out mailings and trying to get a hold of people, because you do have to call them. Nobody picks up the phone anymore. Got to call them multiple times. Texting hasn't worked for us, but calls have, leaving messages, as well as sending letters and postcards. That is really huge. When you send a letter and postcard, if it comes back in the mail, do yourself a favor, take 10 seconds and look at what it says at the bottom. Every once in a while, it will say forwarding order expired, and then it will give you the address of that forwarding order. That's the new address for the owner. That's a nice little nugget of information, okay? So definitely do that. Definitely check that address, and that'll help you quite a bit. Just so you guys know, we've tried just about everything over time. When we first started, we even did certified letters to folks. I kid you not certified. It cost like $2 per mailing, but it was through the U.S. Postal Service. Maybe it was certified. Anyway, it was a way where we could tell that it was delivered and somebody had to sign for it. And it was through the post office. And we actually did that for a while, and it didn't do anything to our conversion rates, surprisingly. So it's very important, guys. You use the system as it's written. That postcard that we have on there, I know it looks cheesy. It gets calls. And more importantly than anything else, remember, the takeaway script where you go, hey, you're not returning a call. And then it goes into more. Same thing with the takeaway letter that we put in there. Guys, that's what makes the phone ring. And you don't just send correspondence if you're doing this on your own. You don't just send mailing to the possible claimant. You send it to the possible relatives and associates, because there's always an Aunt May that wants to be in everybody's business, and she'll give you the phone number. You still send it out in the claimant's name, but you also send it not just to the claimant, but their possible relatives and associates. That's a big deal. Now, the other side of that, guys, and there's certainly nothing governing this. It doesn't fall under Fair Credit Reporting Act or anything like that. But the other side is, if you do have a family member calling back and wants to get all the number, you tell them, hey, look, this is money left over from a foreclosure on such and such street. I'd like to talk to the last owner. Well, how much is it? Well, I'd kind of like to talk to him. I will tell you this. This is what we usually do. I will tell you this. In order for me to call on you, it's got to be over 20 grand. But this was their property and it's their money, and I'd feel more comfortable talking to them about that. And guess what? They respect that. They believe you more, and they're going to pass it on. Now, a lot of you guys remember 30% of our buyers started with another program. So I get it a lot where people come and go, man, nobody ever told us to be honest about where the money was. And everybody was hanging up on me and telling me I was a scam, and they didn't believe me. And because you have the hook, Sean, where you're giving them money up front for signing the documents within 10 business days, for signing the documents, you can tell them where the money is. Yeah, and we have credibility. People believe us because we can tell them, here's what it sold for. Here's what was owed. Here was the surplus. Okay. There was also a second judgment. How can we tell them that? Because we research debt. You got to research debt. But we can tell them exactly what's there, how much they're going to get, unless something else pops up, how much they're going to get. And they believe us. We're telling them where the money is. Not this, I will tell you later once you sign my agreement. That stuff doesn't work. When does that work? You sound shystery, right? You sound like you have a relative from South Africa, and that relative was a multi-billionaire, and you didn't even realize that he was your great uncle 3 times removed. And if you just send us $5 grand, we'll send you the $500 million. You know, that's stupid crap. That's what you sound like, trying to keep things a secret. Practice full disclosure, guys. Use the system. Don't try to use powers of attorney to yourself, please. And don't try to use assignments. Use an attorney and use a structured buyout agreement, please. It works. You're legal in every state, and binder caps don't apply to you. Hey, listen, go to the site when you get a chance, SurplusFundsRiches.net. Click on products. Check out what we got if you haven't already. If you have any, at the bottom, scroll all the way down to the products page. At the bottom is an insider's guide. Goes over every single one of our programs. If you read that and you're still wondering what to get or have questions on a program before you buy, give me a call. I'm available with pre-purchase questions only, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 704-791-9398. Sean Bucci, 704-791-9398, Monday through Friday, 9 to 1 Eastern Time. Have a great night, guys.